afternoon. It is afternoon, 5 o'clock on Friday, the 7th of June. Time's flying as usual, and you're very welcome to my home. That is on screen, of course, and personal. Delighted you've joined me this afternoon. Now, I want to, the reaction has been very good to the Mandy Smith story. And I want to make one thing very clear. This is not a, what do they call them, kiss and tell or whatever. This is my side of what I did within the story, the fascinating story of Mandy Smith. Okay, let's get on with it. So the other day we posted, I think it was yesterday, day before, part one. And where we left it, I should have really listened to it just now. She'd signed a recording contract, she'd made her first record, and it's there, called I Just Can't Wait. And we were off to Germany to do a show in Germany with my one condition, that she goes on Bravo magazine, the biggest selling European, I'm not sure the world, pop rock magazine, whatever you want to call it, Bravo magazine. And I wanted her, that was the condition, I wanted her on the cover. And Bravo explained to me that you have to have a #1 hit in Germany before she goes on the cover. But I said, fine, we're not coming. And they agreed, and they let go. And she was the first person to appear, and you'll see it on this, this recording. You'll see the cover she did. But this is a fascinating story. So these stories aren't told exactly all in order, so you'll have to forgive that. But this is the story of when Ireland, my country, wanted Mandy to come over and appear on a TV show. Now, on Friday night, the show, which used to be the Late Late Show at the time, okay, they decided a new experiment. They would let some well-known or known person to host the show. And this particular one was Noel Campbell Sharp. She was, I'm very fond of Noel Campbell Sharp. She was the wife of a very well-known photographer. She's very involved in the arts. She's a character. And they called me and said that RTE would like Radio Television Éireann, the Irish equivalent to the BBC. They'd like Mandy as a special guest on the Noel Campbell Sharp show. So we flew into Dublin. I swear to you, a lot of Mandy's family come from Ireland, from Dublin, but there was a huge turnout with the paparazzi at the airport, at Dublin Airport. So it was odd, me flying back to my country, which I normally go and no one even know me or recognize me, but all of a sudden, this for me, by the way, it was for Mandy, where the paparazzi were storming everywhere. A limousine was waiting for us and brought us to the Gresham Hotel. Now, let me explain about that. The Gresham Hotel is on Connell Street, and O'Connell Street sort of gone down, and at that time anyway, it wasn't very upmarket. And they told me I could stay wherever I want. And I said, I want to stay in the Gresham, and for one reason, and one reason only. I had heard that on the roof of the Gresham Hotel, there's a bungalow with a couple of bedrooms, a kitchen, etc., etc. And that's where Elizabeth Taylor stayed. That's where the Beatles stayed, etc., etc. I wanted to see if it's true. And yes, I got to the Gresham Hotel, hundreds of press around, got up, and there was the suite, bungalow, like a bungalow on the roof, like a real building on the roof, bungalow. I was delighted with that. Anyway, so Mandy said that she wanted rest. She went off to rest. I was busy arranging stuff, and I phoned up Paul Cusack, I think, was the director of the show. Oh no, let me go back. Boop, 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 boop. So we arrived in the hotel, and we were invited to a lunch in a most famous restaurant called The Soup. Was it the Mirabeau in Dún Laoghaire. We were invited for a lunch by Noel Campbell Sharp and some of the people that do the show. And we arrived at the restaurant. Oh my God, it was press were hanging out of everything. One of the stars of the show also was, what was her name? Barbara Carrera. Barbara Carrera. She was the James Bond Never Say Never Again, whatever, the film, the Bond film. And she's now in Dallas. Oh, she wasn't then in Dallas. I think she was one of JR's lovers. Anyway, Barbara Carrera. The other guest was Nigel Dempster. You remember him? The columnist, Nigel Dempster, an amazing character. It was an extraordinary lunch. But for some reason, when Barbara Carrera was like taking center stage. Oh, darling, we had to come from the airport, and thankfully we had a police escort, outriders. Who the hell is she? She had police outriders, so she was saying. So she also already thought of herself as a Hollywood star, and she was starring in Dallas at the time, which was very popular. She took one look at Mandy. Now, Mandy was probably at that stage 17. And she took one look at Mandy, stunningly beautiful girl, young, etc. And Barbara, what age would Barbara have been then? In her 50s, I suppose. And she took an instant dislike to Mandy. Every time Mandy spoke, because the press were, she put her. No, I must tell you about my time as a Bond girl. Mandy would speak here. I got to tell you about me being in Dallas. And it was really getting on my nerves. And Nigel Dempster kept looking at me, rolling his eyes up to heaven. Anyway, so the lunch was over. We took the car back to the hotel, and Mandy said she wanted to rest while she was. Honestly, I was thinking, who this Barbara Carrera? Mandy Smith, by that stage, was everywhere. Every newspaper. It was August, the silly season. I mean, I'm not talking about in England and Ireland, but I'm talking about in Germany and France, in Sweden especially. She was everywhere. Her record was out all over Europe, except it was out in England, but wasn't getting plays. Anyway, we got back to the hotel, and Mandy's resting up, and I phoned Paul Cusack, who is the director of the show, the producer of the show that night. I said, Paul, I just want to go through some, arrangements. So what time will the car be here? So we'll be ready, and walk me through what Mandy's doing. And there was like a pregnant pause at this stage. And he said, Morris, I said, well, hold on, Paul. Let me tell you what we'll do. I always go with Mandy to the studio. I will be with her backstage and, chatting with her. And then she can come out and I'll come into the audience to watch her interview. Oh, there's a slight change now. And I said, what change are you talking about? She said, Mandy will be in the audience and Noel Campbell-Sharp will come over with a microphone and interview her. Pardon? And it was all very, a little stutter. Mandy will be in the audience and Noel Campbell will come over and have a few words with her. I said, Paul, are you out of your mind? Mandy's probably at the moment, no exaggeration, probably one of the most famous women girls in the world at the moment. And I'll tell you about that because she's invited to America to do a film. Well, Paul, would you ever come on and say what you're going to say? He said, well, I had a bit of problem with RTE directors, upper management, and they didn't want Mandy to come on the show for obvious reasons. This is a Catholic country, and he blabbed on about Mandy and Bill Wyman and whatever. So I said, fine. I had a funny feeling that Barbara Carrera was behind a lot of this. I said, fine. I'm cancelling her off the show. Forget it. You're not going to do that. I'm sorry. She's not going on the show. End of. So anyway, I went in to tell Mandy this, what had happened. And Mandy sort of goes, oh, great, okay, fine, I'll go along, but whatever you want, I don't care. So she was sort of stayed in her room. She was resting up. And I came outside. Now, I wanted to capitalize on this. So I rang down to the hotel reception. I said to him, is there much press there? He said, it's storming with press down here. I said, good, okay. Do me a favor, because in the bungalow, or the room, the suite, whatever, there was a bar, a real bar. I said, I want you to stock that bar. Put up a bottle of whiskey, bottle of the bottle, and can you bring up some canopies? Yeah, because I want you then, when I phone down, to invite all the press up to the suite. And the guy, head of reception, a manager, said, no, Morris, normally when celebrities are staying here, we never let the press go upstairs. He said, but this time I'm inviting them. I want to invite them. Okay. Anyway, I went into Mandy. I said, Mandy, I have a plan. I've got to be able to capitalize on what's just happened. I want you to come out when I tell you. I'm inviting the press up here and for drinks and canopies to meet you. And I want you to come out. She had this dressing gown on, the Gresham on the pocket. I want you to come out, white dressing gown, and I want you to curl up on the sofa, the to meet the press, and I want you to be in bits, highly disappointed, sad. That's great for Mandy's great at that. She said, fine, I'll do that, no problem. Give me the signal. Then I phoned up and tried to find out where Nigel Dempster was staying, and he was staying in another hotel I know. And I got through to him and I said, Nigel, Mandy is, and I told him the whole story, and he said, I'm sure Barbara Carrera is behind this, like I was thinking as well, but more than just that. So he said, don't leave it to me. I said, well, he said, Morris, just leave it to me. I said, fine. So then we got everything ready. I invited all the press up, and they were really shy. They kept looking at me one by one as they came into the suite. Are you sure we can get with all of their cameras? I said, yeah, I want you to meet Mandy personally. They all, this has never been done before. Well, maybe it hadn't. Anyway, they all had a drink. I went to Mandy, I said, are you ready? And she said, yeah. And she came out, honest to God, she would have won an Oscar. She would have won an Oscar. She was in bits. She looked like she'd already cried. I think what she did with her mascara, pulled it down a bit with the water on it or something. But I was gobsmacked when I saw her. I felt so sorry for her. I said, ladies and gentlemen, and I explained the story to the press, what had happened, that Mandy was too dangerous, I think I'd use the words, for RTE. They were frightened of her. And anyway, press, they go mad, the cameras were going mad, going mad. Anyway, that lasted for about 10 minutes. They all had a drink, and I said, thank you very much. Mandy's too heartbroken to spend any more time here. So they went, I remember Mandy jumping up and down on the sofa, laughing her head off. Anyway, put on the program. Noel Campbell Shore started the show, and who's on the show. In fact, it had Mandy Smith's name as one of the guests on the show. They obviously didn't take it off for some reason, I don't know why. Anyway, Nigel Dempster comes on and he says to Noel, Noel, do you mind me, this is live, do you mind me asking, where's Mandy Smith? And Noel, because Noel is not a professional host, she'd never hosted a show before. This is a whole new idea from RT, let well-known amateurs host a show. And she tried to, now Nigel was saying, where's Mandy Smith? And he sort of got the audience out of, where's Mandy? We all want to know where Mandy Smith is. And it went down a storm. Anyway, that was the show. The next morning, I got up and went down to reception to get the Sunday papers. Well, the Saturday papers, Saturday papers. And the Independent, which is probably the biggest selling newspaper in Ireland, the front page had got a huge photograph of Mandy Smith in the suite, looking very sad. And the headline, I can't remember the headline. It was something like, Mandy is too dangerous for RTE or something like that. It was one of the big papers at that time, selling papers because of the story. And anyway, that was the end of that story. And we boarded a plane and went back to London or whatever. But I am sure we got more publicity out of that suite or bungalow meeting with the press than we would have had if we'd done the show with RTE. Show was bloody awful anyway. Anyway, that's it. So that's part two. This story might take some time to do, and there might be stuff in between it, you know, because there's been some crazy nights. But that's the RTE story, and I'll see you all soon. It is the weekend ahead, so have a great weekend. Be safe.